Okay, so uh, I have Prashant and Ankit with me today, and this is about the general overview of GitHub or Git, basically, uh, which is a very popular website for having projects hosted. I mean, not actually hosted, but to keep the source code and to have the version control. So, uh, to both of you and to all the people, Git is mostly like a version control tool. We also have other options like SVN in the past, which used to do the same thing. And with the when Git came, actually, it became a lot more easier to uh, share and collaborate between the team members because it has various different uh, use cases, and it is capable of handling many different complex scenarios which we come across while working on a project. When especially we are working with teams in different geographical locations who are not at the same office. So I'll just share some things. Like I have my screen probably shared up. Okay, so uh, just to show you what exactly GitHub looks like. So this is something like the the main website of GitHub, which is like uh, a repository, a site keeping all your repositories. So it's like my account. So it has several repositories which I have kept. So each of them is a project. uh, it need not be a typical project, it can be just files as well, but the way you organize it, GitHub knows it well because it has all the directory structure stored inside. And if you make a change or if somebody else makes a change, then it will somehow know what exactly is going on. So it will just give you the details just to collaborate between the team members. So this is the general a view of GitHub. So as I told, it is mainly used for version control because every software in this open source community has a version, whether it be even the VLC media player that you see over here, or any other uh, software which we particularly use, which has the source code open, will have a version. Just for instance, Netflix is a very popular website and it has its own GitHub uh, uh, page as well, in which they have all their projects. You can see this. For example, let's take one of them like Zool. So this will also have its version. Okay. So first of all, you have branches, and each one, like if you actually see, mm, like it will give you the releases. Okay. So this release is nothing but the version. So it has 54 plus release. The latest one is this. So this is major, minor, and I guess this is sub minor or something. So it has three numbers by default, the convention that we use for any software version. So 2.1.5. So 2 is the major, 1 is the minor, and this may be the sub minor or something. So when we move ahead, for minor fixes, we increase this 5 to 6. If it is a major thing which is linked to this release, particularly 2 release v2, then it will be 2.2. And if version 2 itself has reached to the end of the scope, then we will make it v3. That is how software progresses. Okay, so you can see this particular version is the latest one, and we have something like the branches which we see over here. So there are so many branches, okay, for this particular project. So default is the master, because by default any project that you work on in the open source community, uh, by convention, it has the latest working code in master. There can be other branches, but they may not be uh, completely working fine, because they may have some minor fixes, something related to another feature to be added which is not yet implemented completely. So those will have to be separated into different branches, and that is why you can see they have given specific name also. Apache logging to G4J, Log4j. They are doing some migration on some branches, but the master is the one which is currently being used. So this is just one of the open source I mean, project which is very kind of popular amongst the open source community, because Netflix has released more than, you can see, 181 repositories are there, and it has various different applications in different aspects of the software. So uh, I just showed
Ankur,
you this. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, suppose just like how you explained that the master is the one which is currently active and being used.
Yes.
So, is it like the different branches are the different updates or the changes being done by different people on that particular project?
So yeah, particularly I would say that every project, it's not owned by a single person. There are a bunch of people working on every single repository. So here the people involved are 16, but if you open a particular repository, you will see a subset of these people, like or maybe a new set of people working on this particular repository. That there are contributors list which is 30 over here. Now the idea is that there will be one or a group of people. Generally in open source community, there's not a single person who actually maintains the project, and rather there are a group of people. And the way it works is, let's say if I am working on this, okay, let's say uh, I am working on this dispatch project, and there is one other guy which with me, who we both have started this project at our home or at our workplace, and then we thought of making it open source. So currently, like, we are the owners, I mean, we started this project. Now the way you would actually work on this would be not directly taking this code. You would actually, if you want to contribute to it, so there are two ways to proceed. I mean, if you want to use this project, you can just go ahead and download this from here, download zip, or you can just clone it. But if you actually want to make some change, you wish to work on this project for your own good, I mean, you want to make some further additions to it, you may have some other things which you want to modify, and you, if you feel that this thing can be shared across, and this thing can be even implemented in the main project that we are working on, then what you have to do is, there is a fork option over here. When you fork it, when you click on this, it will try to fork on my repo. So you can see this is my repo, Ankur2491 and dispatch. So what it does is, it creates a copy of the whole project into my repo, and it gives you, if you see, there is a small text written, forked from Netflix dispatch. So idea is that any project which is there on the open source community, which is there specific to GitHub, because this particular session we are trying to understand GitHub and what are the main purpose of it. So in this case, we refer to forking as the major, path towards getting the uh, code to be working for you. Okay. So if you see this, now coming to the
Okay.
point that you wanted to check is if whether different branches correspond to different people working on it. No, it's not like that. We want to have a separation of the code, because there are few things which are specific to a particular feature or a particular thing, or maybe let's say a particular bug also, which is there, and we don't want that to whatever changes we make in the code to overpower the master. So master should be something which is released to the public, and the other branches are there which we are still working on. We are not sure whether this will even work fine, or there can be we have to completely drop this feature also. Okay. Just like a side thing which works like a prototype kind of thing, which is completely not applicable at that moment, but there can be a future addition to it in which it might work. Okay. So I
Okay.
hope I answered what you had. If there is still a
Yeah,
doubt, you
yeah.
can let me.
That
Yeah.
that's fine.
So so for example, I just forked one of the project. Okay. So this is the project which is there on my repo. So I'm not the owner of this project, rather I'm one of the, if I am able to use it and if I'm able to push some changes to this project, then I will actually become the contributor to this project. That is how you contribute to open source, because this Netflix dispatch is something which is linked to the Netflix as a company, and I'm not the owner of this repo, by the way. But there can be few things which I might know because of my area of work, or maybe something related to the recent project that I've done and I want to add it maybe to them, or give as a suggestion, then this can be useful for getting that, because it is difficult for them to also track so many people. So this forking helps you in that way. I'll tell you how exactly I can pull this code in my local and get this thing working. So before that, let me go ahead and show you the now that you know how exactly what exactly is the GitHub and what is the purpose of it. It is nothing more than just a medium through which you can collaborate and control your software versions, uh, include as many people as you want. Now imagine if GitHub was not there, what could have been a possibility? Or any version control tool was not present, then what would have been the possibility? You might have hosted your code as a zip, or as a folder in some place like a Google Drive or something, and then you would have asked people to take that download copy and then maybe work on it, and maybe if they feel that they need to make a change, then probably the only way to communicate with you through would be through a web conference, or maybe through emails. But if this is present, then obviously it becomes a lot more easier, because you have uh, every person who is forking that project communicate to you directly through this medium. So that makes it possible. So this is how it works. And I have few things to discuss before we actually get into the command line. Uh, so before, like if you are new to GitHub, first you have to go ahead and create an account for yourself. And you see there are many options over here, and it works on the common principle of public and private key thing. So you can see we have SSH and GPG keys, right? So you have to set it up. Okay, you have to set this up, and once you set it up, this will work. And if you want to know what exactly and how exactly this works, you can actually refer their documentation that they have given, and check out the guide to generating SSH keys and common SSH problems. Okay, so they have the complete
Okay.
documentation available. Now this is just for the first step that you try to do when you add a new GitHub account, and you have a, let's say you have a new laptop, or maybe your machine is still not configured. So it requires that your machine will have your own private key to communicate to GitHub, and that private key has to be added to your GitHub account as well, so that it recognizes that, okay, every pull or every uh, push which is happening, which I'll come to in a minute, what are pull and push, is through your genuine system which is authorized. I mean, it shouldn't be from any random system that your GitHub gets the data. Okay, something like when you log into Facebook, then you get the login authentication valid, I mean valid authentication, and then if you enter your password well, then probably you are redirected to your homepage. So from that login you can go ahead and post your status or change your profile picture. But imagine doing the same thing when you were not able to log in, or there was some issue while logging, and you can't do anything because you're logged out. Facebook won't allow you to do anything. So something like that, we have public and private keys over here, which works on the SSH key, which is the general thing which we do. If you have worked on any Unix based system, the way we do SSH, it's basically secure shell, which helps you in connecting to two different machines remotely. Okay, so this is how your the key works. So the whole process is mentioned in their docs, and I don't think so that is something which I need to explain, because that is very self-explanatory, because they have given a proper way to do that. If you are on a Windows machine, if you are on a Mac machine or any Linux based machine, you can do it. They have given examples as well. They have actually given the whole command to do that. So make sure you do this before you proceed to Git and to the command line, because otherwise it won't even identify your system. So
I have one question over here.
yeah.
So is it like if I'm using one workstation and I have configured it with these SSH keys,
Mm-hmm.
so what if I log into another workstation and I try to like work or maybe try to push some project from the other system. So will I
Yeah.
be able to log into that?
The point is, GitHub Web will still work for you, because you can still go ahead and see your project, make any change, because you are logged into the web. And in web also you can make a change from the web interface as well. If there is a file, if you want to make a change, you can just go ahead and make the change there itself. Okay. On the other hand, uh, the general way that it works is, you have a local repo, you have a local repository, and you have a remote repository. So uh, just like you can consider a folder. Like you have, let's say, a folder of containing photos. Okay, containing photos of the last trip you visited with your friends. Now there is a folder on your local machine, and there is a folder that you uploaded to Google Drive. So ideally both the folders have the same name, and both the folders have the same content also. I mean, there are, let's say, 100 photos in both of them. Now suppose, imagine, you suppose uh, made a backup on Google Drive, just so if you didn't want to lose the photos, you just uploaded 100 photos on your Google Drive with the same folder name. So imagine the next day, another friend of you comes to you, and then he shares another 20 photos that he had took from his mobile phone, and then you added that to the same folder. And so now your folder name is same, as your local and the remote, but the content have changed. Now your local has 120 photos, but your Google Drive still has 100 photos. Okay. So the way we sync it is, we upload the other 20 photos ideally. I mean, that the way it works. But in code also same thing happens. You generally don't write code on GitHub, you just upload it there, so that you get
Okay.
to share all your updates to your teammates. And the same thing is done reverse. I mean, the teammates also share their updates to you through that repo. But your local system might have many changes which you don't want to share. Okay, that also is provided. You don't want few things to go as file changes, you can do that. If you don't want a particular branch to go, you can do that. So that all thing can be can happen. It's just like there is one whole structure like a file system, and there is one whole structure like a git based system, which the way it stores the indexes and the files on GitHub. Okay. So there are two different things over here. So if you, again, coming to the thing that you asked, if you log in from a different workstation, if you have configured your SSH key, if you have generated SSH key on that machine, and if you try to add that to your GitHub account and the settings, then definitely you will be able to do, because it will identify this machine also as one of the authorized machine which can do pull and push or do any changes. But if you have not configured it, then definitely it won't allow. It will give you a permission denied error probably. Okay.
Okay. So that means like more than one workstation can be
Yeah,
configured in this.
definitely you can add it. There is no such thing as one single machine, because many of the people may have a workstation at their workplace. They can have a personal
Yeah,
laptop,
exactly.
so you can have two different copies. Okay. So I hope,
Okay.
Ankit, you are following, right? You have any question?
Nothing as of now, Ankush.
Okay. So let's show you a few things. So as I told you, you have to set up your SSH key, and then once you are done, so I already have it on my local. The whole step is again the same. I have not done anything specific. Whatever was provided by their documentation, I've done it. I've done it quite some time back, so it's already there. The process is same. They don't change it. Uh, Unless they want to follow a totally different procedure, then that's not going to happen, I guess, in the near future, because that's the existing one is pretty good. So so I have let's say the way we proceeded is by creating a repo first. Okay. Basically, like, if you are initiating a project, you don't initiate it on the complete GitHub itself, right? You initiate the files, you write the files, you test it, and you do every sort of work in your machine, which is the local machine that you're working on. Okay, in this case it is my system that I'm working on. I don't actually write the code on GitHub. So the first step would definitely have to be the system. However, there are two different processes to create a repo. Okay. The first process, which is very simple, very easy to do, is by going ahead and creating a new. Okay, when you create a new, it gives you this option to create a new repository, and it gives you the owner. So I'm the owner here. Uh, and repository name, let's make it as created from web. Okay, something like this, a very simple one, because I created this repo from the web. And description is just like this repo. Okay, and I want to make it public or private. You can do that if you want to. There is a readme if you want to initialize, that is also optional. Otherwise it will just go ahead and create one new repo. So now this check will be done on your particular repo. So if I have already one project with the same name, it won't allow. But in this case, it gives a green check mark. That means it is allowed. So there is a git ignore. I'll come to that later. And license is none. Okay. I'll just create a repo. Now, once I create a repo, I have these options, right? So the option over here is it will give you all sorts of instruction that created from web, readme, git init, all these things. I'll come to this in it part later. I'll first show you why these urls have come and what is the purpose of it. So you can see there are two different things. One is the https and ssh. So both of them would work ideally normally, because they are basically two different protocols. As you know, https is the web based. I mean, when you run any sort of rest service or any sort of uh, a call through which requires http on a secured shell, secured tunnel, you use https. ssh on the other side is more like a command line. I mean, I can just go ahead and hit this url, and it will, on my browser, it will open that repo. You can see this. Okay, it opens the URL. But if I do the other way around, I would just go ahead and click this and then just go ahead and do this. It won't show me anything because it is not a protocol that browser supports. So it is just a command line thing which has to be executed from your terminal or from your command prompt. So I'll just copy this because I'm cloning this anyways to the command line. Where I am now, I'll just go to my okay. Let me create a new project here. I mean, new folder. Let's make it git session. Okay, so it is completely blank. If you see, there is nothing over here. There's no special folder, nothing hidden over here. It's completely blank. Now all I have to do is I just need to do git clone, and I give my the link I copied. Okay, so when I do that, because I have my RSA key over here, it will just do it. Okay. Okay, so it gives me a warning that you appear to have cloned an empty repository. That's just a warning. You can ignore it because currently the repository contains nothing. It is just empty. I can just show you that here also. I can maybe, where it is, documents. I'll show you the projects. Okay, so this is the folder over here, and it has nothing. Now, interestingly, I'll show you one thing. I'll just go in this folder. So I see nothing, right? Now see this. There is a git directory, which is a D. So it is a directory here. I can just go ahead and go inside this git also. Okay, you can see these many different things now. There is a head, there's a branches, description, config, hooks, info, objects, refs. Now you don't need to understand all of this because this is very internal to git, and few of the things is self-explanatory. As I told you, branches is something which will store your branches, which I'll just show you how to create one. And head is the one which shows the current code pointer where it points. So head is, as the name suggests, head means the front portion. So where it is now. Okay, we have config, we have description, hooks, info, objects, refs. Okay, so there are many things which even I have never um, delved deep into, because we don't use it every now and then, because this is very internal to Git. So I have this particular file now. Okay, rather this directory now. Okay, now let me open this in one of the uh, Visual Studio. I mean, just any editor, it will be fine. uh, and I'll
Ankur,
just,
I have.
yeah, tell me.
So when you're telling while we're cloning any project from Git, right? So let's say I'm working on a project in my desktop, and I have uploaded the project on GitHub. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And later at some point of time, if I'm, let's say I've lost a part of a code from my
Mm-hmm.
repository. So
Mm-hmm.
later when I clone it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
let's say the code I was working on, that
Mm-hmm.
was not in the master branch, that was in a different branch.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are cloning it, it will clone all the branches available or only the master branch.
No, no, no. When you clone the repo. You don't clone the branches. Okay.
Okay.
So understand it this way, that branches are like we have branches of a tree. So
Yeah.
when you clone the whole repo, you get the whole tree. You don't get a particular branch. Okay.
Okay.
You can check out a particular branch, but cloning as such, you can. I mean, there is a possibility that you can actually go ahead and particularly you can move to a particular branch while cloning itself. Although I
Mhm.
have never done it, I believe I have always cloned the main repo and then I have checked out different branches. But yeah, possibly, even if you do that, your local repo will still have the references to other branches, because it is getting those data from the remote. Okay.
Okay.
Understood. So ideally, what happens is we have two different, as I told you, we have two different versions. One is your remote and one is your local. Now, local is the system that I'm working on. The remote is the place where Git stores the data, okay, in its own database, and we have that version as the remote. Okay. Now, let me open the folder which I just cloned, and I'll show you what exactly is it. So let me see it. Hmm. So this is the folder that I created. Currently, it has nothing because I just created from web. And let me just go ahead and create a new file, right? So maybe this, while working with any project, you would definitely want to not add a single file. You would definitely want to add the whole project stuff itself. So what I'll do is I will just show you one example of creating a file, and that is applicable even if you're creating 10 files or 20 files or n number of files. It is not just for one single file, the process is different, and for multiple files, the process is different. So I'll just maybe let's say I'll make a file out like abc.txt, which is just a text file. Rather, it has to be txt. Okay, so here if I uh, mention, hi, this file was created in local. So I just added a content over here, nothing much. This whole thing can be any code as well. It can be Python, JavaScript, Java, TypeScript, whatever language you're working on, you can use it. And this file extension will also change accordingly. So you can see the current branch over here is master. So my ID, this is Visual Studio detects that it is on a master branch, because by default that is the branch that GitHub provides you. And now I'll quickly show you the Git status. Okay. uh, okay, so we have abc.txt over here, and this is the untracked files. Okay. Untracked files means it has still not been added, and it is there in the local system, but it is not there on the Git. So what I have to do is they have mentioned that git add to include in what will be committed. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and git add Now there are three different uh, steps which you need to do. First of all, you have to do git add followed by the file name that you want to add. In this case, it is abc.txt. Uh, you can also add another files. So otherwise, if you can just git add dot. If you do, then it will add all the files in the current directory. Uh, but specifically, we have one single file, so it's not a problem to add a single file. So this is the first step that you did. The second step would be to now, if you see the status again, now what is status? Status will show you what exactly is the current, you know, um, uh, uh, the status of your Git. I mean, do we have any files to
Like
be added? Huh?
it will tell the differences between the files between the repository on the
Yeah,
cloud as
yeah,
well as with the
yeah. That's right.
system.
Yeah, and in this case, I have one single file which was added. So we have one abc.txt which was added as a new file. So what I do is, and you see there is another way if you want to unstage. So what is a stage and unstage? So you can consider it this way: the local file that I saved was still not added to Git because there's something called as staging. Now, staging will be something like uh, it is ready to be pushed to remote, or it is actually staged. I mean, it is already added to Git. Your file system knows that there is a file called abc.txt, but your Git environment doesn't know that there is a file which is to be added. I mean, there can be plenty of files, and honestly speaking, when you're working with projects, there are many files created which you don't want to be pushed. So staging is a place where you only want to filter out those files that you wish to share with your people, with your teammates. It may not be something that you just your project creates when it runs. There can be many binary files. There can be many files that are there only when you run it on, or it's only specific to your system or your operating system that you're working on. But that those files may not be necessary for the other people who are working with you. So that is why we have something called as staging, to only push or only share those files which are required to be shared, I mean, which are relevant to your project. Okay, so we have this option. You can, if you type it in the same manner what they have given, it will just unstage it and it will again come back to untracked files. Okay, so the second step, I just added one file to staged, and they are telling that changes to be committed. Now the second step will be to get commit minus m. What does minus m stand for? The message that I am providing. Okay, uh, I'll just mention first commit because this is the first commit for this repo. When I do this, you can see that there is a master root commit, first commit, one file change, to insertion, create more this. Okay, this is very specific to Git. You don't need not bother. Just see whether this message comes or not. Can be specific to it need not be the same for you. It can be different because just the way it calculates it. And now if I do git status, okay, it is telling nothing to commit, working tree clean. Now the earlier when I did git status, I was getting this red abc.txt, which is not coming now because I have already added that to git staging, and it's already there in staging. The way to see it will be git log. If you see, I just added a first commit. See this? This is the commit hash. This is called as commit hash because for every commit, it creates a hash code which identifies that commit uniquely. And my head is pointing to master, which is my front of the code. I mean, the main code, which is pointing to my master. This is my author name, and this is the date when I committed it. So it is 2313. Okay, very precise. Now, I have another thing called as remote. Okay, minus v. Okay, so what does that mean? Remote is a variable which, or rather a container which stores different things. So what is the purpose of it? Like if I have this thing cloned from my remote repository, uh, this will contain origin. And by default, GitHub maintains this because if you are cloning it from a particular location, the location becomes the origin. But if you want to add further more variables, you can do that. That thing is something which probably we can cover it in another session, because that will require two different repos of the same project, and then we can have different variables for different repos. of different versions of the repo on different people's account. Now, the way it works is that when we see the verbose output of remote, we get the origin, and you can see the fetch and push here. So this is the place where it identifies. So whenever I do anything like origin or something, it will just search this container, whether this container contains something called as origin or any variable that I'm introducing. So I have already added this commit, and let me go ahead and push it also. So I'll just do git push origin, and I'll do master. Now, what is this? So push means you are pushing your changes, which is already staged, to a remote location. Now, what is that remote location? Remote location is your origin, okay, which is your actual repo from where you cloned from the remote. And master is the branch in which you want to clone. So it is just like git is the command which invokes the like other things. Push is one of the attribute or argument that you are passing to this command, which means that you are pushing something. Now where you are pushing to origin, and which specific branch you are pushing to, that is master. So all you need, whenever you are, remember, when you are pushing, you need to provide the remote name as well as your branch name. Okay, in this case it is master. Now if I enter, it will ask me for the password. When I enter it, okay, you can see there is a new branch, master, and then I go ahead and open it, and I see when I refresh it, okay. Okay, you see this? I just added it from my local. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have this master branch, okay, and this is the default branch. You have different tags you wish to add, and you can just open this file, and hi, this file was created in local. You can see the content. Instead of this, I can have a plenty of files in this particular directory, and all of them can relate to one particular project. Like generally speaking, we have like if you see my Angular projects, they have plenty of files. You can see there are plenty of files, and each folder also will have plenty of other files. You can see that. So ideally in a project there can be all of them, and that is the point which I'm showing you next, is how if we can actually create it from the uh, local. So what I do is I create it. Let's go ahead and create a new directory, mm, created in local, something like this, and I'll just go ahead and inside this folder. Now let me open another window and recent open, created in local. So when I do that, so you see this, it has nothing currently. And as I told you, it won't even have the folder. Uh, on the other side, when I cloned that repo from the remote, you saw there was a .git folder in which I could enter and see the different things, right? In this case, there is actually nothing, because it is a file system folder created on the file system. In this case, it is Unix or Darwin. I'm on a Mac system, so the way it works is it just creates a directory for you. It has no link with Git. So I'm inside created in local, and my remote doesn't have any created in local. Okay, nothing repository. So the latest one was this. Now the way to do it would be to first create a new file inside it. So I'll just create a new file, maybe let's say uh, first local file dot txt and hi something like this file with a local repo inside. Okay, so this is the file, and since there is nothing like git inside, I can't do git status also. It is telling me not a git repository or any of the parent directories. Okay, now the way to do would be but I still see there is a file created over here, right? Now the way to do would be to actually create something called as uh, get init. Okay, initialized empty git repository in this. So now if I do lsla, I see a .git which was not coming earlier, remember? In this case, if I do git status, it gives me that there's a file. But if I do git remote -v, I don't see anything, right? So ideally what happens is I have created a local git repository, but that repository is not having any remote because this was totally created on my local machine. It has no link with the remote. So the only way to actually make this happen would be to add a remote, right? So first let me add this file. I'll again follow the same process. I'll just do git add, and it is added. Git status, I see the file. I will just go git commit -m, and I'll make first commit for local repo, and git status, it will show nothing to commit. But if I can't just do git push origin master, it will show me error. Okay, could not read from remote repository. Origin does not appear to be git repository. Now to do that, again you have to go back here, create a new. Okay, because the way your remote works is that remote will have a single interface to do all your interactions. Once it is done, the other communication can happen further through your terminal. Okay, so in this case I can name it anything. Okay, I can name it anything, by the way. So let me show you one thing. I'll just name it anything like repo, just like a local repo or something. Okay, just some fancy name, I'm not sure. Okay, files present in local, something like this. Okay, and if I do a create repository, okay, it gives me a local repo git. Now what I have to do is I have to get remote add. So you remember I told you remote is a container. It contains different variables. So it's just like a hash map kind of a thing. We have a key and we have a value. So key can be origin, key can be upstream, key can be anything. Key can be Ankit, key can be Prashant, whatever I wish. So when I do that, let's in fact not add origin for this case, because origin is a very common convention. And just to show you anything will work, I'll just add my remote. Okay, just like this, my remote. Okay, just get remote add. Okay, and I have to give this variable. Now if I do get remote -v, I see my remote is this fetch and my remote is push. So all I have to do is get push my remote and master. The second is always a branch. The first is always the alias for the repo. Okay, now if I do this, okay, you see it's writing. Now if I just refresh this. You see, first file, first local file.txt. So this is the way in which I manage the files from local and from remote. So I showed you two different options. The first option was to create the repo itself from your GitHub profile on web and clone it, and then add some files and push it. The second option was to have a general project, which most of us do. We don't have the repo and the details yet, so what we do is we create the whole project on our local machine. It can be a boilerplate application as well, like Angular. You can do something else also. You can have a full Spring Boot application also, which contains many different files. All those will be on your local machine. It will not have a repo unless you wish to create it, and then for that you have to do all these process. You have to do init, you have to create a repo on your remote, and then you have to add that variable, and then you'll be done. I mean, you can just go ahead and push it. Okay, now there is one thing I don't want to extend this. It will be too much for one single time. So I can just go ahead and create it or edit it also, by the way. So I just want to show you this. This was the local repo, and if I show you get log, this was the first commit for local repo. My remote master is also pointing here. Now let me edited on web, something like this. I do this, and I can add an optional message also. Okay, maybe let's say edited remote repo, commit directly to the master branch. Okay, so what it will do, it will commit the changes. So when I commit it, you see edited on the web has come. Now this file and this file is not the same, right? This file, first local file.txt, and this first local file.txt is not the same. There is another line added, which generally happens when you are working with different team members. There can be somebody who changed something, that thing got merged, and then you don't have that copy. So how do you get that copy? It's through first you have to just clear it off and just git status. Let me see. Nothing. So there's something called as get pull, which in which you are trying to pull it, just like you pull something. You don't pull away from if you are the person, and if you are pulling something, then that pull has to be towards you, right? Push on the other side will be against you. So this is the same way this pull and push also works. When you're pulling something, that means you're pulling something towards you. So you're on the local machine and then you're pulling something from remote. So I'll just do git pull origin. Oh, I name my origin different, right? It will be my remote, and it will be master. Let me see what comes. Okay, so it changed my file. You see this edited on the web came, right? So this is how, even when without looking into the file, or even if I'm not connected to the web, I can just do pull and all my changes will come on my local. I just did the change there on the remote and I got the changes here. Now, if I want to see what changes happened in the meanwhile, I just can go get log, and you can see it will be on the stack mode. So this was the first one which we did. The second one which we did just now on the web jumped to the top because it is the stack level commit. So it will be like last in first out kind of thing. So this was the edited remote repo. Okay, so this is the commit hash, and anytime if I want to go to this commit, I can show you this thing also. This is very interesting. So if suppose some of your teammate did some work on some project and maybe they messed it up, maybe that thing somehow got merged and that is not working, and whatever fix you had earlier done is still working, and now you have pulled those changes, you are here on this commit, and you see that okay, something has broken in my code and doesn't work because of some person or some group of people who did something wrong. So how do you get back your thing? or how do you jump to your older version? Just there's something called as git checkout, and all you have to do is click. Now notice here, okay, in the editor, you can see this edited on the web line, which was added on the web. I want to go to the previous version, in which second line number was not there. So I'll just do this hash. I'll just copy this hash and I'll just paste it over here. You see this? It's gone. And if I show you the branch, I'm now detached, because this is not like a branch. This is just a commit. And if I want, I can just go ahead and create a new branch out of it. Okay, how to do it? How do I do that? I'll just do git checkout minus B. B stands for a new branch, and I'm currently on this version of the code which I did earlier, and I don't want to be on this particular head detached at. I want to create a new branch. Okay, so my version, I just do my version, and I'm switched to this branch. So you see my version, and I can again go back, git checkout master. You see, it came back again. So I have two versions, one with the changes that was added by my teammate, which has issues, and one in which whatever I did, it's there over here, which doesn't have any issue, but it works. You see, there was this line which was removed on this particular version. So did it, was it, anything you have, I mean, did you see any issue while understanding this, or I'm open to things which you can ask.
Yeah, Ankur, I just have one doubt.
Yep.
So when we are pushing anything on the Git, right? So
Mm.
let's say I'm pushing some push when I'm going for a push command. So it will only push those files which are committed, or the ones that are not
Yes.
committed as well.
No. That is why we have staging, right? I told you. When we have something which we want to push it, then we first store all of them which we want to add. I mean, which we want to keep. Like we have git add, right? That is why we use git add to only add those files which are supposed to be staged and which
Yeah.
are supposed to be pushed. So in this case, I had only one file, but if I have another file which I don't want to push, I may not push it. It will still be there in the untracked file section. Okay. For example, I can create a second local file, and this can have anything, A, B, C, D. This will still be untracked. Okay. If I show you this, it will still be untracked. If I don't want, I will still keep it like this. I need not push it.
Okay.
I need not have it staged. It will still be added, but it will be in my file system, not on my Git. So imagine if there is something, somebody messed up your system. They try to delete this file. Your Git might not have a track of it, and you might lose that file. Okay, but if you are having that file in the Git, staged it sometime back, or even now, or even in future, if you want to go back to the file, it will come because Git has the record. Okay.
Okay.
So that is how it works. Probably, yeah. Anything else you have?
No, it seems it's quite
Nothing
simple
from my
to
end as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So
good.
configure it on.
yeah, so there are other things. Definitely, I have not covered many different many different commands, and it's not just like you learn a command and then you do it. It depends on the use case, and it depends on the proper knowledge of Git command line is very helpful in understanding scenarios in which you can use them. There can be very particular project scenarios where you are working with uh, very agile changes. Every now and then there are changes, and then you might need to switch back and forth between branches, which mostly happens, and then it causes a problem to handle. And then we can actually work on many different things which are provided by Git. So it is a very powerful tool. It's a very important that everybody knows it properly to collaborate and work in. You cope up with this agile changes. So which happens every now and then. You never know that the version that you are having is already outdated the next day when you come to office. So there can be scenarios where it is very helpful to apply the knowledge of that, and Git is kind of a go-to thing nowadays to help you with that. So I will probably end this because it's already close to an hour when I started. We can have furthermore topics covered in the next part when we try. I don't want to. I actually planned it for different portions. I don't want to keep it for one particular session. So rather, in the next one when we come, we can have some things. You guys can work in your time, and maybe we can have some very particular scenarios discussed at that time relating to all this which I explained you just now. So uh, uh, that should be it from my side. I believe if you guys are okay and fine, then probably we are good to end this session today.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Okay, fine. Thanks a lot, Ankit and Prashant, for joining. And
Yeah, thanks.
probably this will help you guys to actually kickstart your actual project if you have not, and if there is already a thing going on in your project, you can probably understand it pretty well. So yeah, happy coding and happy using Git. So let's probably end this. Have a good night. Bye bye.
Thank you, Ankur. Yeah.
Yeah, bye bye.
Thank you. Good night.